All right, so let's begin our journey for this 63 hours pre-licensing course for the Florida Real Estate Sales Associate with Unit 1, the real estate business. The purpose of this unit is to introduce you to the real estate business. We're going to talk about real estate brokerage, different activities of real estate brokerage, construction and development, and also about some major organizations that are involved. By the time you're done with this unit, you should be able to describe the various activities of a real estate brokerage. You should be able to talk about 5 different specialities of the real estate brokerage as well. You should be able to identify the role of a property manager in situations where a CAM license is required. You should be able to describe activities like appraisers, USPAP, differences between different types of CMAs, BPOs, and the appraiser. You'll have an understanding of the mortgage business and then a role of a mortgage loan originator in a transaction, different phases of development and construction, and 3 different categories, 3 main categories of residential construction as well. So let's start by talking about what is a real estate professional. Who is a real estate professional? What does he do? Let's first talk about what do real estate brokers do? What's the purpose of being a real estate broker? So real estate brokers are individuals and entities who provide specialized service. Remember, a real estate broker offers specialized service in return for compensation in the form of a commission or a fee to provide their services. A real estate broker typically deals with sales and purchases, negotiating a transaction, but at the same time has responsibilities of taking the transactions from initial showing all the way up to the closing table. It's a process. The broker is involved through the entire process. We're talking about showing, writing offers. We're talking about negotiating offers. Once the offer is negotiated, we have to make sure that a broker's responsibility is to conduct a home inspection, supervise a home inspection, and oversee the financing process and making sure that all the pieces of the puzzles are put together so a transaction can successfully close. So as a real estate professional, since you have the license, you have more knowledge, you have more expertise, and you have a license to practice real estate, which means that there is a certain amount of expertise that is expected from you. It's expected from you that you should possess a certain amount of knowledge. Now, in the real estate business, there are 3 key different areas where you must possess knowledge in order to conduct a real estate transaction. Number 1 is a knowledge about property transfer. Number 2, you need to have knowledge about the market condition. Number 3, you need to have the knowledge about how to market the real estate and the business. So knowledge about property transfer. As a real estate professional, you must possess a certain degree of knowledge. Again, remember, you're not an accountant, you're not an attorney, but at the same time, having a real estate license, you should have a certain amount of knowledge about the entire process. And we're talking about transfer of the title, property taxes, financing, local zonings, and all the issues that can affect the sale and purchase of the transaction. Number 2, knowledge about the market conditions. As a real estate professional, you should have a decent amount of knowledge about the market conditions, supply and demand, job markets, availability of the credit, influx of people moving into the certain area, influx of people moving out of the certain area. So real estate in general is affected by a variety of factors. So as a real estate professional, you must possess knowledge about what's going on in that market where you're practicing real estate. Area where your expertise is necessary is how to market real estate in a business. So for example, are you working in area where the general population is single family homes and you have people coming with families and kids. And so school ratings are important in that area versus if you're working towards an area where there's beaches, where there's vacation condos. So the clients are going to be, the pool of client is going to be a little different versus what you'll see in the suburb. Are you working in the urban market? Are you working in the suburban markets? So depending upon your geographical location and the type of the property, you need to have the expertise. Are you working with waterfront properties? Then you need to know about the insurances. You need to know about the factors that can affect the sale of that property. So that's definitely an expertise that's required from you. We will go to the next section of our principles and practices, but the real estate brokerage. Now we're going to talk about, we already talked about what a broker does. Now we will talk about what is a real estate brokerage, the entity. What's the role of a real estate brokerage and what are the duties and responsibilities of a real estate brokerage? And what's a definition of a real estate brokerage? A real estate brokerage is the business of bringing together buyers and sellers, owners and renters to successfully close a real estate transaction. It's the entity. The brokerage is the parent entity that controls all its activities. And as we dive deeper into this book, we will go over the different forms of real estate brokerages, different legal entities that can be formed. But right now, we have to remember the definition of real estate brokerage is real estate brokerage is the business of bringing together buyers and sellers, owners and renters to successfully close a real estate transaction. So now let's talk about the 5 major specialities of a real estate brokerage. Real estate brokerage has been divided into 5 categories: residential, commercial, industrial, agricultural, and business brokerage. Remember, residential, commercial, industrial, agricultural, and business brokerage. So a residential, these terms are pretty self-explanatory. A residential category includes properties like single-family homes, condominiums, 1 to 4 unit dwellings, manufactured homes, condos, and so forth. As a residential real estate agent, as an expert in residential real estate, you must have knowledge about the property taxes, the zoning laws. You also need to have a certain amount of knowledge about the schools, homestead exemptions, property taxes, etc. On the commercial, the second category of real estate brokerage, sales specialty is a commercial. So on the commercial, your typical client is an investor. And this is where your properties like apartment complexes, retail establishments, office buildings, strip malls, and so forth. Anything that can generate a cash flow for an investor is considered as a commercial. Of course, there's zoning involved as well, but at the same time, you have to have a understanding about you have to have an understanding about the taxes. You have to have the understanding about the income producing activities, cash flow statements, and how to evaluate that property. So now we're going to talk about 5 major specialities of the real estate brokerage. The real estate brokerage has been divided into 5 major categories, one of them being residential, commercial, industrial, agricultural, and business brokerage. Remember, these are 5 major specialities: residential, commercial, industrial, agricultural, and business brokerage, residential real estate. When it comes to residential real estate, we're talking about single-family homes, condominiums, vacation homes, manufactured homes, a typical a typical customer for your real estate transaction. Let's talk about the first important category of a real estate brokerage, which is the residential. Now, as a residential real estate agent, you must possess certain amount of knowledge about the neighborhoods, about the property taxes, uh, issues like homestead exemptions, restrictive covenants, and utility costs, et cetera, et cetera. Your typical residential real estate is talking about single family homes, condominiums, manufactured homes, 1 to 4 units, dwellings, and duplexes and triplexes, et cetera. Second category is commercial. Your typical customer on a commercial transaction is going to be an investor. When it comes to commercial real estate, we're talking about retail establishments, office complexes, apartment complexes, strip malls, any commercial piece of real estate that generates income. So, as a commercial real estate agent, you must possess a certain amount of knowledge about taxes, at the same time, income producing activities. You should have a knowledge about evaluating the property, their income expenses, their financial statements, and all the other resources that you can provide to your customer to evaluate the property and guide them in the better direction. Now, the third category is industrial. Now, that's a very niche market. When you get your real estate license, unless and until you have expertise in this industry, in order for you to work in the industrial segment of real estate, you need to have some kind of a prior experience in that industry. You need to have technical knowledge about different industries. Each industry has a different requirement. We're talking about manufacturing, we're talking about logistics, and there's just a whole lot that you have to know before you practice, before you start practicing industrial real estate brokerage. Agriculture, the fourth category. Now, agriculture, you must be familiar with the operation of farms and related problems. Not everybody has the knowledge about it. So if you plan to practice agricultural real estate and buy and sell real estate properties, which include agricultural properties, then you need to have a knowledge or acquire knowledge in that category. You also need to have knowledge about the federal programs that affect the sales of such properties. A real estate licensee who engages in the sale, purchase, or lease of a business is called a business broker. Now, remember, in the state of Florida, a real estate license is required if you are in the business of selling and purchasing real estate businesses. This particular segment of real estate brokerage is also called as a business opportunity brokerage. So the next topic we're going to talk about is target marketing. What is target marketing? It involves prospecting yourself and your business towards the local consumers, local customers. Many type of real estate licensees specialize in a type of real estate. Uh, For example, there are real estate licensees who decide to work on the beaches towards where there is a lot of vacation rentals, where there's the condominium, waterfront condominiums. There are real estate licensees who prefer to work with a certain group of people when it comes to some specialize in catering to physicians, prefer to choose a specific geographical location, an area in a market, to become an expert and which is called a farm area, the area where a real estate broker specializes and has a deeper understanding of all the conditions of the market, the resources, and all the factors that can affect the sale and purchase of real estate in that market is called a farm area. Expert in a specific portion of a city or a geographical location, which is referred to as their farm area. This method of targeting consumers, targeting clients, is called farming. Before we proceed to our next section of this unit, let's talk about a practice question number 3, in which you have to list the 5 major sales specialties of the real estate brokerage. We already went through that, so you have to answer this. Residential, commercial, industrial, agricultural, and business brokerage. Practice question number 4. A real estate sales associate often specializes in a particular geographical area, which is referred to as their farm area. Question number 5. Target marketing involves developing a database of prospects to direct a specific message. So the answer to the question number 5 is target marketing. Let's move on to the next section, property management. So let's talk about what is property management and what is the role of a property manager. Property management is a professional service to maintain and manage a property on behalf of a property owner. We will talk about absentee owners in a little bit, but the definition of property management is it's a professional service to maintain and manage the property on behalf of a property owner. A typical property management agreement is going to have a details about the scope of responsibilities that a property manager has. It typically involves leasing, managing, marketing, and maintenance of the property. So now let's talk about what is a property manager and what's the role of a property manager. The responsibility of a property manager is to devote himself to the managing and maintenance of that property on behalf of the property owner. The role of the property manager is to be the local representative for the property owner. Its responsibilities include maintaining the property and managing the accounting and the expenses and generating the highest possible return on investment for the owner. Recorded. A property manager is the local representative for the property owner. It's responsible for maintaining the property and managing the property expenses. The manager's main goal, primary goal, is to generate the highest possible income for the owner and to keep the property in the best possible condition. The absentee owner, the definition of absentee owner. Let's talk about the definition of absentee owner. So this is an important question. A lot of people get confused or get mixed up between a rental agent and a property manager. So let's go and discuss that a little bit in detail. The property manager is more involved than being a rental agent. A rental agent or a leasing agent acts more like an intermediate source between the tenant and the owner. They find a tenant and collect a fee for the service, and that's it. Their responsibility is over, versus a property manager is more involved into that property and the process post leasing than a rental agent. Uh, property managers generally tend to continue the management of the property even though after the leasing is completed. So now let's talk about why the role of a property management company or a property manager has increased. Number one reason is absentee ownership has increased the demand for property management services. There are many people, many individuals, entities who are buying piece of real estate for investment purposes, acting as an absentee owner, and necessarily doesn't have the time or the resources to get actively involved in the management process. And that has created a great demand for property managers in the market. Compensation and licensure. So how the property manager is paid is determined if the property manager is licensed or not. And we will talk about that a little bit in detail. Property managers who are paid on commission rather than on a transactional basis. Remember, this is a very important question, and you have to know the distinguishment between those. The property managers who are paid by a commission or on a transactional basis must be licensed as an active real estate broker. Remember, property managers who are paid by commission or on a transactional basis must be licensed as an active real estate broker. Now, a broker's license is not required if the property manager is paid on a salary. This is also a very important thing to remember, that as a real estate licensee and a sales associate, remember this, as a sales associate, you cannot work independently as a property manager. You have to work under the supervision of an employing broker or a property manager in order to provide property management services while you